He's the voiceover studio engineer of the Stars in Los Angeles, California, a Virginia Tech grad with a knowledge of recording studios unmatched in his field. He's a voice actor from Buffalo, New York, with 30 years experience in recording studios and behind the mic. He solves people's home voiceover studio problems in the blink of an eye. Together, there's no studio problem they can't solve, and they'll do it for you tonight. Welcome to East West Audio Body Shop. Now, live from a basement in Buffalo and an office in LA, here are Dan Leonard and George Whittam.
Good evening and a happy new year a week late. I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we are East West Audio Body Shop. What a wonderful holiday season it was. We sort of like split coasts there. I was on the West Coast and you were on the East Coast.
I know.
It was kind of weird. We were thinking of actually doing the show. I was going to do it from George's house and he was going to do it from his parents' house. And then we would have said, I'm George Whittam in the East.
That would have been funny, actually.
It would have been pretty weird.
If it weren't for all the other, inane things you have to do around the holidays, we might have been able to pull that off.
That's true. That's true. But we appreciate your patience and you hanging out. And as we can see, you're all back.
Yeah, thanks for coming back, everybody. Wow, we've got a good contingency of 30 viewers. We got our loyal viewers here tonight. I see you all in the chat rooms.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to see you all too. I mean, we've all been talking over the last couple of weeks, but it was an interesting couple of weeks off. But tonight, we're going to lead things off with one of our favorite people, one of our really good friends, Mark Cashman, who's going to join us from his not brand new, but his wonderful home studio. And it is the model of the ultimate home studio. It is just a magnificent showpiece and of course, very, very functional too. And he's going to show us around and talk from there, and you'll be amazed and you'll all go, I want one of those. Well, get out your wallet. So tell us about how your trip east was.
Well, it was great. We 2 weeks of traveling, and Ella did really well on the plane for the most part. The only time she got really ticked off is when we had to strap her into her seat at takeoff. But once the plane was taxiing and the engine was revving up, she complied pretty quickly and got the lap belt on. But other than that, she did real well. And I was really surprised. We stayed at a cool place in New York City for a few days in the what they call the East Village, Avenue D, 7th and Avenue D, which is way over in the East Village. And it was fun. I wouldn't recommend it to everybody, especially in the dead of winter. When we first got there on the 30th, it was beautiful. It was like, mid 50s. It was unbelievable. But by the 2nd, it was down to a nice wind chill of 8 degrees. So, needless to say,
and you were nowhere near the subway if you were in the East Village.
Yeah, we were far from the subway, a good 20 minutes. So, but we saw Ellis Island for the first time. My wife nor I have never taken the tour of to Ellis Island and to the Statue of Liberty. So, it was fun. Not the best thing to do with a toddler. We'll have to do it again, and we'll have to do it when the weather is nicer and when the Statue of Liberty is actually. The museum and the interior is actually open. All we got to do was walk around it.
Right. And the Statue of Liberty is not going like this as opposed to like this.
Exactly.
Anyway.
But it was really nice, but we are very glad to be back in Santa Monica, where I heard it was 85 degrees on New Year's Day while we were shivering Becky's.
Yeah. Well, we wanted to spend Hanukkah in Santa Monica. We didn't get quite that far. We figured, we did not want to be hitting the 405 from Santa Monica, heading south at 5:30 on a Friday afternoon or Tuesday afternoon. No. So instead of doing Hanukkah in Santa Monica, we went down to the beach in Redondo Beach.
Oh, you went to the pier, right?
We went to the pier at Redondo Beach. It was wonderful. We had a great time.
Isn't that fun? That's a part of LA that most people probably don't know about unless you're local.
Right. It's like a little fishing village there. Fresh seafood and this great old arcade that's there. And, and a lot of Japanese people eating urchin. I'm like, they're drinking these big spiky things. I'm like, ew, what are these people eating?
That's pretty hardcore, especially considering the fact that if the urchin's not prepared correctly, I understand it could possibly kill you.
Well, that's why we didn't have any.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we also did the glass bottom boat, which was a lot of fun. We saw seals and a few fish. They
Nice.
throw feet over the side. Very touristy stuff, but
Hey,
we
it's
had a
still
good
fun.
time. The sun went down. We lit our candles and off we went. We said, okay, we watched the sunset on the Pacific. We lit our candles. We did it every night, but not on the beach. But we made a point of making sure we lit candles every night and stuff. It was a wonderful holiday, and it was great seeing my mom. And if you're watching, Mom, hello. And we'll be back because we got stuff going on out in California in the next couple of months. We got FastCon in a couple of months, and then Voice 2012.
Yeah, you're going to be racking up the miles.
Oh yeah, Southwest just loves me. Anyway, speaking of the new year, you wanted to get off and start talking about what you think are studio New Year's resolutions.
Oh yes, studio New Year's resolution. Well, did you get anything cool before we go into that, did you get anything cool for Hanukkah at all?
Or my birthday.
Or for your birthday.
During Hanukkah.
That's right. It was the 27th?
It was the 28th.
28th, yeah.
Usually it's my birthday is usually well after Hanukkah.
Right.
It was, as they say, it was really late this year. Whereas a rabbi friend of mine says, no, it's always on the 25th of Kislev. It's always the same. And if you're Jewish, you understand that joke. But no, it was late this year. So my birthday was actually like one of the last days of Hanukkah. And it was nice. So I got a lot of Hawaiian shirts.
Excellent.
So I have a fresh supply for this spring season coming
Beautiful.
up.
I think the coolest thing I got was this vintage on the air sign. I call it vintage because this was in my father's ham radio studio. This was the sign outside his ham radio station in the basement of the house that I remember seeing for, since I was a little kid. So he gave this to me for Christmas this year. So this is going to be definitely hung up outside my office here, very soon. So thanks for that, Dad. It's the coolest thing I got for sure.
Yeah, you got to get a flashing light in there so it'll.
Yeah, I've just got a solid red light, but
not to stay out.
but
whenever the light's flashing, stay out of here.
Exactly. Well, yeah. So, New Year's resolutions for your home studio.
Yeah,
I would say number 5, if you're going to count these down from 5 to 1.
Let me write these down then. Number 5.
Okay. Number 5. And keep in mind, I'm pulling these straight out of my butt as we go here. Because, show
all
prep.
All of a sudden, I have some very strange thoughts in my head. But go on.
No. Number 5 is simplify your studio. If you've got too much gear, start pulling out the junk. If you're using a mic preamp processor with a lot of features, but you don't need to be processing in real time, which is a very small percentage of you out there that need to do that. Maybe if you're doing a ISDN and you need to do some sort of processing on the front end. The rest of you out there, you probably don't need all the extra bells and whistles. So take anything out of the signal chain that doesn't need to be there, clean it up, and simplify. So that's number 5.
I totally agree with that. As a matter of fact, I think I'll get rid of some of this stuff right here. And some of there was a Firewire card.
Yeah, exactly.
And okay, go on. And my Diane Merritt stopwatch. No, I got to keep that.
Well, I got to keep mine too. Thanks, Diane. Number 4, upgrade your computer. If you have any way to upgrade the computer that's going to be the most effective in cost and ease of upgrade, it's upgrading memory. It's very cheap. So number 4, upgrade your memory. Here's the 2 gigabyte chips I removed from my wife's iMac and replaced with 2 4 gigabyte chips. So she's got 8 gig of RAM in that baby. And that cost, I think, a grand total of like $40. Unbelievably cheap. And I'll tell you, man, there's nothing that makes a computer run better than having plenty of memory.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you something about that because I ran into this because I've got an iMac and it's not a brand new iMac and I'm like it can only take 4 gigs of RAM. Sure. I looked it up. Well, it'll take 6. You can put a 4 and a 4 and a 2 in it.
Yeah.
But it's not recommended, but it will work. Have you seen any of that or?
Yeah, I think if it's a certain, you have to, I always go in the forums from Apple and see what people have, managed to get working. Mm-hmm. And if you go to macsales.com, that's other world computing. They're like the best for aftermarket, any upgrades to a Mac. They'll tell you what you can get away with. But it's just a stability problem. One of the biggest problems on a Mac that causes kernel panics, which is the Mac's equivalent of the blue screen of death where this gray curtain goes, pew. Guess what? You need to hold down the power button. Yeah. If that's happening to you, a lot of times it's caused by a memory module that's bad or has problems. So be really careful about what memory you do put in your Mac. Make sure it's definitely going to be, there's no Mac brand or Apple brand memory. It just makes sure that it's memory that's going to be absolutely compatible with your computer. Right. And if you don't buy it from Otherworld, at least go to their website and check and see what memory they recommend, because that's all they do.
Okay. Number three would be, I would say, it's time to check out your acoustics. A lot of people have been recording in the same space for many years, and it may be adequate, but there could be something about your room acoustics that could have been tuned up a long time ago, but you just never realized there was a problem. When I'm working with new clients, I always ask them, have you had any complaints? And a lot of the time, the answer is no. It's kind of one of those things, nobody says anything because either they don't know enough to ask, or you just don't get a client because they don't like the sound and you never get any notes. So, if you have any concern at all that your room acoustics aren't quite as good as they could be, send an audio file to somebody like Dan or myself, or somebody you can trust that has good ears and knows what a booth should sound like. And just let us know, just give us something to go by so we can get a really clear understanding of what your studio sounds like. Send a file with nothing on it, no processing, nothing at all. Just dead quiet. We want to hear we just want to hear what you sound like.
Yeah, I want to hear your voice
what the room sounds like.
Yeah, I want to hear your voice, and when you're done speaking, I want to hear like 10 seconds maybe of just room tone of just not talking. Right. And that's going to tell us volumes about the room, the acoustics, the noise floor, all that stuff. So I would say that's number 3.
Yeah. And remember, with noise floor, there may be sounds that are there that you can't hear because you're just used to them. Yeah. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. I've been running into that with a lot of people lately. So Absolutely. It might be best to have a meta pair of ears to evaluate that.
Yeah, I would agree. Number two. And, this I'd like to hear people's thoughts on this, but I think creating a killer audition preset for processing in your software might not be a bad idea. Mm-hmm. I don't think unless you're, unless you're the top 1% of voiceover, you're not going to be able to just win on a flat, dry audition anymore. I really don't think. Unless you have an amazingly well-tuned studio where your sound from the mic to the computer sounds like it's ready for air, which most of us don't. I don't recommend sending out dry stuff anymore. Set up some effects, compression, maybe a little EQ to sweeten, and possibly noise gate, depending on your studio, and apply that on your auditions so that when you send out a file for an audition, it should be punchy. It should be the best you it can be. It shouldn't be you times 10. Right. It shouldn't be you DJing the DJing on the radio. It should just be you, but with maximum volume and clarity. Right. So that I think is a good one.
Yeah, and I do that. All 3 of those things that you mentioned, making sure, if there's, the garbage truck is going by, make sure you've got your noise gate. And I do have a compression and EQ scheme that I use just to take off the low end of my TLM 103 just a little bit, mm-hmm. and a voiceover specific compression thing. And it does do that. The thing is it also depends on what it is you're auditioning for.
Sure.
If you have a good knowledge of the marketplace, that it does help to know, who the end user is and whose ears you don't want to blow out. But if it's for a commercial or something like that, and it's, this is all part of the conversation.
I know it's all nuts and bolts, but if you can't trust yourself, again, consult with somebody that, we're here. Twisted Wave makes that incredibly easy. I can make a stack that I send you a file and you're just off to the races. It's beautiful.
Excellent.
And number one, drum roll, please. Number 1 is vacuum out your computer. Get the vacuum cleaner out and vacuum that sucker out. Oh my gosh. I have seen some of the most disgusting computers you've ever seen. And sometimes the most well-heeled clients of mine have the most disgusting studios you've ever seen. They've never let anybody clean in there for good reason, I guess. They don't want knobs to get bumped and stuff, but
Right.
oh my gosh, vacuum out your computer. Get any kind of vacuum with a hose and suck all the air vents, the power supply, anywhere there's, even the optical drive, which acts as an air intake on most computers where the air gets sucked right through. Vacuum everything out with a hose because your computer is literally suffocating. And if you have pets, it's going to be 5 times worse.
Oh, yeah.
Dogs or anything. Your computer is suffocating as all the vents and things get clogged with hair. And
It heats up.
It starts to overheat. The fans have to run longer. The computer gets hotter. The fans have to run longer and faster in most cases. Newer computers, the fans are variable speed, so as it gets hotter, they get faster. The computer gets louder. So keep your computer clean once a year. Do it every year around the same time, and just vacuum your computer out. And you don't have to take it apart to do it. It can help to get in there and clean, but I don't recommend that for everybody. And some of you have Macs which don't come apart easily.
Right.
So just vacuum where you can, the back, the front,
vents, right.
the vents, and that kind of thing. So
and don't use a metal vacuum cleaner, Paul. I mean, he's worried about static.
Oh yeah. No, just like a cheap plastic vacuum cleaner or even a shop vac with a plastic hose, anything like that. So not very exciting, but there's my top 5 New Year's studio resolutions.
I was impressed.
Thanks.
That was actually thrilling.
That's a copyrighted feature of this broadcast.
Okay, and it should be. No, those are excellent suggestions. Well, I've got some more stuff coming up in just a couple of minutes. We got Mark Cashman coming up in about 10, 15 minutes, so stay tuned for that. We're going to talk about setting levels, so you stay right where you are, and we'll be right back here in East West Audio Body Shop.
Anything else better to do? Dan and George.
And we're back here on East West Audio Body Shop, and boy, I miss doing this show. This is just too much fun. It's like being on the radio, but like staring into the microphone and thinking you're all out there. But we can see you out there too, and that's really great.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about setting levels, because when I work with people, and if they're beginners, they're all like, well, how do I set levels? And it's important because you've got to be able to make the most of what you're putting into the computer, and you want the computer to accept it. And it's vital to make sure that you have proper levels. And I think one of the things you need to learn is about the dB scale. And we can cover that briefly. Sound is measured in decibels, or dBUs, decibel units. And you need to understand that each one of those decibels is either something louder or something softer. And you want to have, there's a certain range where you want to be within, and there's a certain range you want to stay, underneath. But you don't want to have little tiny waveforms. You need to have upwards of about +3 max, but not down constantly at minus 21. You
Right.
need to look at the scale on the side of your waveform and see where it's going. And if you've just got little tiny peaks and valleys, that's not loud enough, because when you have to normalize it, if you normalize it, which I'm still not a really big fan of, you're going to introduce a lot of noise into your signal. A lot of people have heard that they've got to record low and then normalize it, and they don't realize that, usually just to prevent background noise, and they still don't realize that they're just amplifying the background
Yeah, they're
noise.
doing the opposite. Do you find that +3, when you're saying +3, you're probably referring to the older analog VU meter scale?
Yeah.
Versus digital, or the top in digital is just 0, right?
Oh yeah, top and digital is 0.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I try to stay underneath that, but because of digital technology, we have a lot more what's called headroom, and so it takes a lot to overmodulate. But I demonstrate that. I've got a little piece here I want to play right now. This is gonna be a weekly feature. This is gonna be the Home Studio Masters Tip of the Week.
Man, if you can keep this up, I'll be impressed.
Oh, it's Sunday afternoons can get a little hairy around here. It's like, you've got to help him study for his biology test. Oh, crap. I got to do this thing for the show. Anyway, but, excuse the mess. It's just the way we live here, well, at least down here in my studio, and the bird chirping, and other than that. But here's our first installment of the Home Studio Masters Tip of the Week. Well, we got to talk, all right? It's important to set your levels properly in Windows first. Now, okay, you plug your microphone into your digital interface. In this case, we'll be using a Centrance MicPort Pro. But say you're using a Fast Track or a Mobile Pre or a Mutu or any number of billions of digital interfaces that are on the market today. You plug your microphone in, hit the phantom power, and you set the level control on your digital interface to about 12 o'clock. Okay, and hopefully the USB plug is plugged into your computer. So we want to set the proper input levels. And why do we want to do that? It's like a hose. You've got water running through your pipes in your house, and it gets to the spigot. There's a valve there at the spigot, and you want to allow as much water to go through that valve as possible, because you want to water your lawn or whatever it is, wash your car. And you want the full flow of water coming out of the pipes coming out of the hose. It's the same analogy here. We want everything that your digital interface is sending to your computer for your computer to accept, so you're pouring all that into your computer. And how do you do that? Well, you click on, of course, the Start button, go to your Control panel, go to Hardware and Sound, since we're talking about sound hardware, go to the speaker icon, click on where it turns green when you put the cursor over it, click on that, and it will take you to this screen here. We don't want to talk about the playback right now. We only want to talk about recording. So you click on the Recording tab. And you'll notice that the Centrance MicPort Pro is listed as the default. There'd be a green check mark right here as the default input. That's good. That means your computer is recognizing the MicPort Pro or whatever your digital interface is, and it's taking that input. Now over here is a little meter, and you want to be able to make sure that you're getting enough level. All right, we seem to be getting enough level, but we got to check. So you right click on that particular box, go to Properties, and then Levels. So this is the level setting that Windows is assigning your microphone or your digital interface with your microphone plugged into it. And I've got it set to 100% here. I want everything that my digital interface is sending into my computer to be heard by my computer. So I set it at 100%. You could set it lower if you're giving it too much gain. For this argument, I'll put it in for 100%. You click OK, and you look at the meter here. This is your level meter. If you're overmodulating, if you're talking too loud, or you've got it set too loud, say if I turn up the MicPort Pro, you'll notice that it's now overmodulating. So I back off the microphone gain on the MicPort Pro, and now we have a more reasonable level. It bounces all the way, but it doesn't stay up top. You've got a good bounce. A lot of people, now you may not hear this because I'm going to turn it down, a lot of people recording don't know this, and they turn their levels way down, so it's just a little tiny blink at the bottom. You don't want that. You want it to be bouncing up to about There, that's the proper level, and that's why it sounds good as I'm talking to you. It's not overmodulating, it's the right level. There's nothing else automatically controlling the gain here. We've now manually set the gain. That means that your computer is properly getting your microphone level, and you can now go to your recording software, go to your devices there, and set the proper input levels there. It should be absolutely perfect once you've done this. That's why it's important to set your levels that way in Windows. Let's take a look and see how you do it on a Mac. Okay, let's show you why I like a Mac and why it's so much easier to do in a Mac. Same situation. You got your MicPort Pro or your digital interface plugged in with your microphone plugged into that, and you've got your level set on that. Set it up to about 12 o'clock. Go into the gears, the system preferences, open that up. Pretty simple. You click on sound preferences where it says sound. Double click on that, opens it up to here. We want to look at the input tab here. As you can see, the input tab has my Centrance MicPort Pro listed as the input device here. And all you have to do is look at this meter here, and if it's bouncing like that, you're in pretty good shape. So if I adjust the MicPort Pro level, it's actually set almost full bore here. If I turn it down, you'll notice that it gets very quiet very quickly. It gets very quiet very quickly. So you want it to bounce at least to about here. And that means once you've got it set to there, that means you've got enough level to go into your software. It's as simple as that. You don't have to go through a billion different things. Click this, click that. You go into your sound input, boom, you're done. For output, on this particular computer, I want my internal speakers to be my output. And that's it.
And we're back.
And we're back. Well, what do you think of that?
Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah.
It's very informative. And, it seems some of these things, seem obvious, when you've been doing this a long time. But really, Windows is not so obvious.
No, it is not.
And you know what? I have had weird results. I don't know if I want to take a very informal poll, but do any of you have trouble in Windows 7 where when you set your input levels, you have to set it to extremely low levels in the OS? Because I've found that I've run into that problem a few times where if I set the input setting in Windows 7 to 100% or close to it, then on my mic preamp or my interface, if it's a MicPort Pro or whatever it is, I have to have the gain turned very, very low to avoid distortion, like abnormally low. So I don't know if anybody else has run into that problem, but if you have, I've been trying to find the answer to this, and nobody seems to give me any consistent information. I have found that sometimes I have to set the input in Windows extremely low, like 15%. So, if you ever run into that, I'd be curious to know if you run into this. Dan obviously wasn't having that. Let me ask you, Dan, when you were doing that test, you were using a MicPort Pro?
I was using the MicPort Pro.
Do you remember approximately what microphone were you using with the MicPort Pro?
I was using this one. I was using the AKG.
So the dynamic.
Yeah.
Where did you have the gain pot on the MicPort Pro? Because the dynamic mic, you usually have to have it almost all the way up.
Yeah, on the PC, it was about a little less than 2/3.
A little less than 2/3, but on the Mac, did you find it to be a very different setting?
On the Mac, I had to give it full up.
Right. I think you were probably running into the same problem. It's really strange. Like what you'd think would be proper levels on the Windows computer is totally based on a different scale than what the Mac sees as proper levels. Like I never have to do that on the Mac. In fact, on the Mac, it's smart enough to actually disable the level control completely in the Mac control panel. It says that control has been disabled by the driver.
Right.
So it's idiot proof, But on Windows, you still have that slider, and then you have the thing on the interface. So you have two things to worry about. So watch out there because it can catch you up, and you can end up with a really weird gain stage. So
right. Well, and that's why I wanted to show that. I mean,
yeah.
I put it at 100% just for argument's sake, just so you know that you're getting that level. But normally I might back it off to 75, 80%.
Right.
But like I said, that opens the spigot into your computer from your digital interface and gives you a fuller level and gives you more fine-tuned control from your digital interface, or from some of you people that still seem to think you need a mixer from your mixer.
Right.
But I wanted to show the difference. One, so you can see how much easier it is on a Mac. I mean, it's like, I do this, then do that, then, vote for your favorite candidate. And then, it's, when I'm working with people who have Windows 7, it's a nightmare. One, because I don't use Windows very much anymore, but that's the other reason. I mean, aside from, Flight Simulator, I do need the PC. So when I'm working with people who have a PC, I can go through the menus and say, well, this is this. I remember how they all work. And, it's all pretty logical. It's just more complicated with a PC. Oh, so somebody's.
We have a surprise guest. Hi, Ella.
Yes.
All right, Ella, say hi and then go. Say hi.
Hi.
Okay,
Hi.
bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. You know what's amazing about this show, George? This is our 34th episode. The phone hasn't rung once.
You're right. Maybe there's a lot more people listening than we think there are.
Then maybe it is. Everybody knows I'm on. Maybe that's what it is. Or it's past 9:00 and the Republican National Committee knows not to call.
Right. I keep forgetting that Elle is smart enough to open all the different doors and things to get into my office now. So it's time to update my security for 2012.
That's right. Put up that on-air light.
Yeah, that's going to work.
Yeah.
Oh, on the air. That means Daddy's on the air. I better get in there and say hello.
All right. Oh, no. Okay. Judy wants to see her.
Sorry,
we
had to pull her out of here.
That's right.
I promise she'll be on again soon.
That's right. And she'll always be coming back in. Anyway, but that's setting levels. And if there's any specific topics you'd like to give, you'd like me to give some specific tips on, I will be more than happy to do a feature on that. And we'll do that every week. I know you're going to hold me to it, George, but I can do it. And they're all going to be fabulous.
Of course. As long as they're educational, that's all that matters.
As long as they're educational, that's all I care about, too. Well, we're going to hope that Mark had a little trouble with this Skype, but I think we've got it straightened out now, and we'll be coming back with him in just a couple of minutes. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back here on East West Audio Body Shop, hopefully with Mark Cashman. We'll be right back.
El Dorado Recording Services.
Randy Thomas chiming in.
This is Alex Verdi.
Hi, this is Bill Ratner in Los Angeles.
Hi, this is Scott Rummel here in Yorba Linda, California.
Hi, my name is Rick Wasserman.
Hi, this is Tom Kane.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Marshall.
Hi, my name is Zurich.
Hi, I'm Mary McKittrick.
Hi, I'm Peter McHugh.
I was turned on to George by none other than Don LaFontaine, who always swore by his health.
George is absolutely awesome.
ISDN, Source Connect, Phone Patch, FTP, you name it, George has set it up.
It's really the best thing I've ever done for myself. I feel free, safe, fearless, like anything is possible in here.
Unless you like to look for opportunities to waste time, call George.
And he did all of that, long distance over the phone and the internet.
I'm very happy with George, and I cherish
I've got my travel kit. I got my Source Connect. I've got it all going on, thanks to you.
Thanks, George. You make it easy.
This is East West Audio Body Shop with Dan Leonard in the East and George Whittam in the West. Two guys I love spending Sunday nights with.
right, everybody. Well, we try as we might. We are trying to get Mark on camera. At the very least, we're going to get Mark in an audio format on here. Yeah. So I think I hear him. Say hi, Mark.
You in there?
Hey guys, I'm here.
There he is.
Oh, he is there.
I am here.
Excellent.
I'm not.
You know, I did download the latest version of Skype. I then restarted my computer, but I still don't know whether it doesn't tell me which version I'm in.
Click on the app. Click on the word Skype in the upper left-hand corner in the menu bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Click About Skype.
Got it.
And what version does it say you're running?
2.8.0.863.
Oh, yeah. You're running on like 2-year-old version.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that'll do it.
You got to be running on version 5.3.
And yet, I clicked on the link that you sent me. I downloaded it. Well,
you have 2 copies of Skype now, I think. So you have to launch the other version.
And I don't know how to do that. So
okay. Well, let's just talk with you because we're on the air. You might as well. We got you while we got you. Let's make the best out of it.
Thanks, guys. You know, the pictures that I sent Dan for his blog were, I mean, they're pretty, and plus the pictures that Dan took as well, pretty much sums up the studio here. I had been in, I'd been in a closet for a number of years.
Literally
in a closet. It was one of those Harry Potter closets under the stairs type things. And I'd been in that, I think I was in that closet for about, I would like to say 3 years.
Yeah. And you wanted to come out of the closet.
I have no qualms out of the closet after all these years. And my wife was the one who encouraged me, which I know sounds like an oxymoron, but the thing that Dan saw when he came out here last week, and in fact Jim Allberger came up as well. And the two of us, the
three of us,
4 of us, because we had Carrie, our friend Carrie, join us as well. 4 of us came to the studio. Everybody saw the studio and then came in and then went out to lunch. But basically, what Dan saw was I used to have a 3-car garage, a double and a single, and I took over the single. So the approximately 120 square feet of garage space, I put the studio in and modeled it after the studios at Books on Tape, which basically has 2 rooms. So it's got a control room and it also has a booth.
Now you can't see this, Mark. I don't think. I'm not sure if you can or not, but I don't think you can. I'm showing the pictures of the booth right now. Okay. So everybody's getting a visual as you describe it.
Okay.
Right. This is the view from your door looking in towards your workstation.
Okay. All right. And again, I can't see anything because my camera won't. I can't see what you're showing.
We're showing the shot as though you're standing in the doorway looking into your studio.
Got it. Yeah, it's set up basically so that if anybody were to direct me in an audiobook, they would have their own room for directing, and I'd be in the booth. And so they would have a window, and it's just like a miniature studio with 2 rooms. So there are mics in both rooms, and all
right, I'm not going to ask what that is.
Apparently it's happening on my end, so I'm turning it off right now. Keep going, guys.
I thought I had a soundtrack.
Yeah, really.
It was a nice song.
Well, yeah, just put it underneath there a little bit.
Yeah,
there you go. Okay, go ahead, Mark.
I've basically gone from driving a beat-up VW bus with rust on it to a Rolls-Royce is really what it comes down to. The cost, it wasn't cheap. I can honestly say that. But what I basically did was, instead of spending the money on a car, I spent it on a studio that is, number one, not going to deteriorate, is only going to appreciate, and is going to basically let me pay it all back and then some.
That's right. This is an investment in your career. You can't hardly put a price on it, actually, when you think about it.
Well, yeah, you can put a price on it, but ultimately, ultimately, the price is worth it. It's going to take a little while to recoup the cost, but it's going to take a little while. So what? That's the beauty of it. When I was the two things that, and you guys know this better than anybody, the two things that everybody has to concentrate on when they're putting a studio together is isolation and ventilation.
Right.
Right.
We're showing the isolation booth right now.
Yeah, and so that's the key thing. And before I had neither isolation nor ventilation. Yeah, I had a lot of the foam, the Oralex and all that.
Yeah.
There, and yes, I had carpeting on the floor, and it was quiet, but it was only quiet when it was quiet. In other words, when there was no water running, when there were no dogs barking, when there were no gardeners gardening, when there were no where there was no showers going, where there was no air conditioning going, when there was no ambient noise. Well, when is that?
Right.
Never.
Early in the morning, late at night.
Yeah.
I hated the fact that I had to tell the rest of my family, Daddy's recording now, so just try to keep quiet. And now I've got it so that I don't have to bother anybody, and they don't bother me.
And you're unbothered, absolutely.
Well, do you want to ask, Mark, we're getting a ton of questions about the studio in our chat room. So I'd like to start going through and picking some of these out.
Let's see.
The first thing that comes up to mind is people want to know, Mark, what Mike Sommer's involvement actually was. I know it was a very large involvement, but tell them about, how long he spent on it, and that kind of thing, and how much did he physically work on the studio himself?
Okay, well, let me just tell you something. When Mike was one of my former students, and he just loved voiceover, and he was also a handyman, but more than a handyman, he was a builder. He could build anything.
Fabricator.
I saw some of the stuff that he had built for other people, not studios. But Mike had, when I was getting ready to do the studio, Mike said, I really want you to consider me because I've either designed studios that other people have built or built studios that other people have designed, but I've never designed and built the whole thing from the ground up.
Oh.
So I said, okay. And I'd seen some stuff that he had done. I'd seen some of the work he had done that was non-studio related, but it was construction. It was major construction. And I was very, very impressed with his work. And so I decided to give him a shot and do it. It took him approximately 4 months total to build this studio from the ground up. He did virtually everything. I remember one day he had his brother help him with the drywall construction, help him put up the drywall. That's the only thing that he didn't do by himself. He did it with help. Everything else he did on his own. All the frames, the wood, the steel, everything. It was all him. He put all the electronics together. He made all the baffles. He did everything. He did everything. The painting, the glass, the everything that you saw here, Dan.
Yeah.
Mike did, and all I did was, I didn't even pick out the color. My wife picked out the colors.
You're a smart man.
Well, yeah. When somebody shows me a color wheel, I go, I don't know what to pick. So she helped me out there, and and then he, of course, helped me put the all the equipment together. Well, all the equipment. There's not a lot of equipment. He always said from the get-go, keep it simple. And Dan, you definitely concurred on that one. And and of course that's perfect for me because I am not a techno geek at all, like George. George, I saw a picture in the I saw a picture in the paper. I think it was Sunday's paper. Was it Sunday? A few days ago. It was about Hans Zimmer,
The musician.
The musician.
He has a staff.
Yes, he has a staff, but he also has a mansion in I think Santa Monica, and he lives on a compound. But his studio, have you ever seen pictures of his studio?
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. You know how you ever see these mansions where they have these libraries where where books go up 20 feet high,
yeah,
and all. Yeah. Well, instead of books, he's got outboard gear. I swear to God, if you could just Google, Hans Zimmer and look for pictures of his studio.
I'm doing it right now. In fact, I'm going to bring up a shot, just one shot of the studio here for you guys.
I want to see this.
It's astounding. It is absolutely astounding. He's got this huge couch in the studio where everybody sits in, but behind that couch is just, I would have to say, at least 200 or 300 pieces of gear that he's got built into the walls like a library, but it's all gear.
Looks like the Outback Steakhouse.
It's
it looks like the size of a restaurant.
It's unbelievable. And that's just the place where people sit. That's just the control room. Can you imagine what the studio looks like?
Right.
He probably brings in a whole an orchestra there.
I have some great. I pulled up some shots, so everybody's getting to see some pictures of Hans's studio.
Yes. This is not necessary for the average voiceover person,
or any voiceover person.
It really is not. Dan was actually very happy to see how simple my setup is. But and the beauty of it is that you can keep it simple.
Yeah.
And the great thing about you guys is how not only do you answer everybody's questions, but you basically are of a mind to keep it simple. That's the key, is to keep it simple and keep it quiet. That's in terms of isolation. What do you guys suggest for a typical setup? In other words, something that's not constructed like this.
Well, it depends on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
It depends on where you are and what kind of a house you're in. If you're on a second floor, if you're on if you're in an apartment building, there's different strategies for different rooms, and every room is different. And it depends on where in the house you are. But we try to get people to get a noise floor under minus 50 dB. And
what that means is when you're not talking and the microphone's just on and recording dead air, that's how high the meters on your software are bumping. That's your noise floor.
Okay. Yeah. So, so obviously, carpeting is going to be better than hardwood floor.
Right. Well, not in this particular case, because it's been mentioned a few times that you got a really nice bamboo floor, which, by the way, is the same material I used in my bathroom, but actually the same color. So it makes a great bathroom floor, but it also makes a very nice floor in your particular studio. And I a lot of people have been asking me about that. The fact of the matter is while you've got it, the room is very soundproof, it's not dead. It has just the right amount of liveliness. Bamboo is exceedingly dense.
Yeah.
But it has a very different reflection from, say, maple or oak or something like that. And it works. It just adds just the right amount of brightness in your room. It's absolutely perfect.
I will say, I haven't gotten to hear it yet, but Dan's been there. I'm going to go check this place out someday. I promise, Mark. But I don't generally recommend hardwood floors in a home studio because that means that you have to have an incredible amount of absorption elsewhere to make up for it. Well, yes. This room has a lot of absorption on the walls. If you look at these shots I have up, there are panels in a lot of different locations strategically placed to control the amount of reverberation in there. And, when done correctly, yes, you can do a hardwood floor in a studio and it can sound great. But, I don't recommend it for the average home studio user because it does take that much more work to control the reverberation. We're getting a lot of questions about the details of the studio. Obviously,
details.
We can't answer them all, but Mark, do you mind if I field a couple of them just because I have an idea of?
I don't mind at all. I just want to tell you too that I put down a really, really thick carpet in the actual booth itself.
Yes.
And so that really, really mitigated some bounce.
Yes.
And also because I've got a big window just to my right as I'm recording. Mike also made a baffle for me that's about a 3x3 foot baffle that I put on the shelf of the window so I don't get bounce from the window.
Oh, wow. So if you're doing a solo recording and you want it to be extra dead in there, you just cover the window completely.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Well, what you can't tell, I'm showing the shot of the inside of the booth right now. And what's really hard to tell from the shot, because the paneling on the walls is so well done, that there's two shades of color of the acoustical panel. There's the corner trap,
right,
and then there's the stuff on the walls. So there's the only area in that entire booth that's not treated is just that bit of drywall on either side of the window. But almost everything else is completely 100% absorption.
Yeah.
And is there stuff on the ceiling too, Mark?
Yeah, the ceiling is also it's fabric ceiling, but it's also insulation above it too. So it's a floating ceiling as well.
Yeah, there's a floating floor. I understand.
Yeah,
a floating ceiling. Yeah. The walls are completely decoupled from the outside.
Yeah, they're actually a double drywall on either side with steel beam construction and air and insulation in between.
Right.
So it is so quiet that even though the double garage door is only 6 feet away, technically from this booth, when it opens and closes, I can't hear it.
That's incredible.
Wow.
That's incredible.
So the real question is now, where do you put your lawnmower?
I sold it. So
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So let me take some questions. Any questions? All questions. Everything.
Yeah. Well, there's more stuff coming in here. Let me. Let's see.
What are the panels made of?
How are the corners? Oh, your lighting. What are you using for lighting in there, Mark?
Recessed lighting. Yeah.
Well, I've got these downspout lights that I rarely use. I had turned them on today because I thought that that people were going to be able to see it, and I have my the camera. So they are faders. You know, you can adjust the lighting however you want. But I'm a kind of a hermit. When I go, let's say when I do a lot of audiobooks, I just have a couple of lights on my stand, and that's all I want. Right. Everything else, I want it dark. I'm not crazy about the overhead lighting or anything else like that. So just standard, lights that hang down. Again, I don't know what kind of lights they are.
It's not a track light though. It's a recessed can light.
It's on a track.
Yes, track lighting. Okay.
Yeah.
That's usually what I recommend in a studio too, because cans make holes in the ceiling, and guess what comes through holes?
Yeah. I think there were halogens on a track light.
Yes, they were. That's exactly what they are. They're halogens on a track light, and I've got it on both rooms, and with dimmer switches.
I find most of the cases that those track lights are a beauty lighting, but most of the time you just don't need that much light.
No, you don't. And Mike was also concerned that he didn't want any of the wiring to be picked up from the lights.
Right.
Right.
Any buzz. Now the doorway leading into the ISO booth, is that a sound door as well, or is it really just sort of an open space?
It's a sound door as well. It's solid. It's not a
hollow core.
No, it's not hollow core. It's a solid door. Weighs a ton. I just close it off, and it's so isolated that when I'm in the booth, and somebody is outside the control room, which has two doors. When somebody's outside the control room in my office, you could scream and you wouldn't be able to be heard.
Yeah, so you actually have three doors. Yeah. There's a double door leading into the studio, and then there's a third door that goes into the ISO booth.
Yes, exactly. And my air conditioning is it's called ductless. It's a ductless air conditioning system.
Yeah. Amazing.
That is super quiet, and I've seen it's a Mitsubishi. It's a Mitsubishi.
Mr. Slim.
Yes, Mr. Slim. That's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And the I saw this unit being used in a studio, in a booth where they were doing a cappella music. That was the thing in the booth. It's that quiet.
It's amazing. Yeah. Is it right above the doorway into the booth?
Right above the doorway.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Mark, it was magnificent visiting you, and I was just so impressed with this facility. Yeah, you're able to not only work in there yourself, you can direct other people can direct you.
Yeah.
This is the ultimate model for what a home studio should be. But again, it wasn't cheap, and we're not going to, if you got to ask how much it was, you probably can't afford it, but it wasn't cheap, and you've really got to work your way and really be successful to make this type of an investment, because otherwise it's not really worth it, because a facility like this isn't going to get you work. You've got to be good enough first.
Mark's been at this a while, everybody.
Yes. Long time.
It has been a while, and the thing was, it's not that I didn't pay my dues. Again, I was in a closet under the stairs.
That's for sure.
For 3 years, and I cannot believe how much stuff I put out of that little stupid closet in, finding, different times when it was quiet to do it. It was very, very challenging. There's no question about it. So, I don't know. I know a number of guys who have studios that I think are absolutely fabulous. In fact, if you come to Los Angeles and you want to see an amazing studio that George put together, it's the Don LaFontaine Voiceover Lab, and that is an absolutely magnificent studio. I remember when I was there opening night, and I went into the booth. And I said, this kind of reminds me of my studio.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Mike actually gave me some pointers on the acoustic treating of that studio. So if you see some similarities, it's not a coincidence. Last thing before we let you go, there was one last question. Do you literally just hit record and just walk around the corner and shut the door? Or do you try to control it from the other side of the wall?
No, that's exactly what I do.
Uh-huh.
I just hit record, and I just go into the booth, and I close the door, and I do what I have to do, and then I come back out and I hit stop.
And you're using Adobe Audition?
I am using Adobe Audition.
Mm-hmm.
And, to me, it's very, again, easy, simple, intuitive. Yeah. Pro Tools is used by all the studios that I use for production. And again, I'm not an engineer, so those bells and whistles I need. Is it possible that I could be more up to par, more up to snuff on Adobe Audition and be more of an engineer? Yes, I could. I'm just not inclined to do that because I'm just busy with other things, and I leave those things to the pros. And that's the way I work at it. But yes, I do. I just hit record, come around, do what I have to do, and come back. And occasionally, and I know that everybody has done this. How many people have done this? Where you go into the booth, you record what you need to record, and you come out and you realize you didn't hit record.
Yes, exactly. Well, if you really want to get geeky, Mark, you could get an iPad or something, and you could have a remote screen that shows you what's going on in there. And, there's all kinds of fun ways that can be resolved so you can see what's going on. Heck, even a mirror sitting on the desk so you can see the screen.
Well, you can turn the screen around and look at it in the window.
Oh, that too.
And yes, I can turn my monitor around and I can see what's going on. It's just distracting. I just want to make sure that I'm really concentrating on the performance.
It's true.
And not be distracted by anything else. Again, I laugh myself. The few times that I've come out and said, "Joe," we didn't hit record, but and I said, and that was so good. I have to do it again. But that's okay. That it rarely happens, but it has.
How long will you record at a stretch when you're doing a book narration, Mark?
Oh, I would have to say about an hour. About an hour is as much as I'll give it.
So you're saying you've on once in a while you've walked out and you hadn't recorded the last hour?
Yes.
Oh no. Oh no. I have to come up with a technology, something that plugs into a USB port, And when the computer stops responding or stops recording, it lights up a bright light saying, I'm not recording. The opposite of the record light.
Just something.
Sounds a siren.
Yeah.
Anything like that. That'll be good. Yeah, that was a, you know.
Yeah.
That's actually the sound you should have.
Yeah.
I said, how could you be so stupid? The thing is, all I have to do is when I hit record, I can see, before I even go into the booth, I can see the waveform. All I have to do is just snap my fingers and I'll see a little pop on the waveform and know that I'm in record.
Yeah.
Okay. But who knows, our minds are so crazy.
Sure.
And we get distracted, and we're thinking about 10 different things at once, and so.
When it is a Pro Tools, I had clients that would still record on a DAT recorder as a backup. They were so paranoid that Pro Tools would freeze or crash for a good reason that they actually had a DAT tape machine running the whole time they were recording, just in case.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's paranoid, but again, it's one of those fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Mark, it's been a wonderful pleasure. I wish we could have gotten you on camera, but we'll solve that next time you're here because we know you will be back.
I think back, and guys, you guys are doing such a great job. You are the buzz of the industry, and I'm really glad you're doing this, and a lot of people are too.
Do you want to plug anything real quick? I know there was something you
what
announced pretty recently, didn't you?
Let's see. Well, I've got classes coming up again, starting up again, starting this Saturday, and I'm doing an evening class for the first time in years, only because of people's schedules. I started out doing evening classes, and then I stopped. I made it on the weekends because people were, they'd get up at 6 a.m, they commute to work, they work all day, they commute home, they grab something to eat, they come back to the studio, and at 7 o'clock, and then by around 9 o'clock, they'd start fading out. And I'm thinking, of course they're fading out. They're exhausted. They put in a whole day. And that's why I had the classes on the weekends. But this next 6 weeks, we're going to be doing an advanced class on Wednesday evenings. And what else is going on? Coaching, I've been working with a lot of people, not just in the U.S., but in other countries. So working out the time zone difference is very challenging, particularly for people who are, in the future. That's the incredible thing about telephones and Skype and everything else like that. That's the closest we'll ever get to time travel. We're actually, we can talk to people who are in tomorrow.
That's right.
And yes, how's the weather tomorrow? So it's kind of interesting. So
I've been working on that, and then stuff coming up for Voice 2012. I'm going to be the keynote speaker and masterclass instructor at Voice 2012. It'll be in Anaheim and at Disneyland, and I just signed up to go to FAFCon for the first.
All right, we'll all be there.
So I have no idea what to expect, but I know I'm among friends and colleagues, and so the camaraderie will be terrific. So that I'm looking forward to that, and then the usual production, with my clients, that keeps me so busy. I don't know how I have time to I don't know, poop.
And on that note, Mark, thanks for being with us tonight.
Thanks, guys, very much. You're doing a great service. Keep up the good work. I'm looking forward to hearing more stuff from you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
All right,
Take
Dan,
it away, George.
While you reconfigure, so what we'll do is we'll go right into what do you want? Should we go right into our spot for Harlan, Dan?
What?
Yeah, Dan's gonna call back and get back to our normal configuration, and we'll talk about our buddy Harlan Hogan, because he is still our amazing sole sponsor of the show, and we got to thank Harlan for sticking it out and being here for being our first sponsor. And almost all of you know about Harlan's website, voiceoveressentials.com. I mean, how could you not? I mean, it's like the best place to hit up for voiceover recording equipment, things like that. And I think I got Dan back here.
I think I'm back.
Hey, Dan.
which is better than my front, I think. Okay.
As I was saying,
anyway,
voiceoveressentials.com.
you were talking about Harlan, weren't you?
Yes, our buddy Harlan. Yeah, VoiceOver Essentials is a fantastic place to grab exactly what you need for your voiceover studio. There's not a lot of distractions on there. There's not tons of gear. I love talking about what's not on there. I know it's counterintuitive, but that to me is a good website is often defined by what is not on it. And my own website is starting to get hairy. I'm thinking of spinning off another website because there's just so much stuff on there. And when you can have a website that has exactly the stuff you need to solve a problem, that's the best thing of all. And that's what his website, VoiceOver Essentials, at this point is really all about.
Yep, absolutely. So go over to voiceoveressentials.com and take a look at the stuff he has. And remember, he's made some choices for you. So if you really don't want to think about it too much, there's very slim choices there, but they're all good ones because Harlan knows what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to make it simple and you don't want to spend hours and hours combing the forums, doing research, just start off, make it easy and start off with gear that's been handpicked by a professional voice actor for the use of voiceover acting. That's what this website's all about. I mean, it just narrows it down to the most important pieces of the puzzle. The microphones, like the one that he actually even had his name put on, he liked so much, the Harlan Hogan VO1A. He's got career resources. He's got his book on there, which it's a great book. It's as much a funny book as it is educational too. I mean,
he puts his own humor in it, and that's really what makes it entertaining. And Jeff Fisher does a great job of showing the technical end.
Jeff's his hired gun geek. Jeff really knows his technical stuff.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's a great resource.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Harlan, and for making our show possible because he's a great guy.
Yeah, thanks, Harlan. And he's the one that keeps you from having to watch the Ustream commercials.
The commercials, yeah, really.
Thank you.
Anyway. All righty. Well, we're in the final home stretch here and a little later than usual, but we got a lot out of it because Mark got to talk about his studio. And that really was a great afternoon there. We really had a great time, James and Carrie and Mark and I. Anyway, I think we have just enough time for some bad audio of the week, and then we can talk about who we got coming up this month.
Yes, we do. Okay, well, let me bring up that bad audio of the week segment here, and I'll cut our mics and turn it up and see what it is. And then I'm going to take some questions from the audience and see if anybody knows what the problem is.
That could be tough. I'm double booked. That could be tough. I'm double booked. No, I can handle it. I'll figure it out. I hear you. Why don't we see if we can hash this out together? I hear you. Why don't we see if we can hash this out together? Well, that sounds possible. Let me juggle a few things around, but that should work.
All right. What do you guys think? I know what it is because it was one of somebody I worked with, and I had to fix the problem. But let's see how many of you loyal viewers have been here analyzing these sound files with us. Tell us what you think it is. He's too far from the mic, and the gain's too. Well, he's
Not
definitely
quite.
too far from the mic. You're getting there. Electrical buzz. Well, that's for sure. There's definitely electrical buzz in there.
No.
Bass reflex. Well, you're analyzing what you're hearing, and that's a pretty good way to start.
Yeah. But why does he sound so far away?
Yeah, I mean, there's a good reason why he sounds so far from the mic. Anybody else? Anybody?
Oh, come on.
Bueller?
We get this one a lot, too. Play
Bueller?
it again.
Play it again, Sam.
Well, all right, play it again.
If you didn't get it by now, you ain't going to get it. All right.
Yeah, you really know.
All right, here we go.
Wrong mic. Well, Eric figured it out.
Let's see.
Wrong mic.
Yes.
Wrong mic.
Ding, 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 ding,
He's
ding,
probably
ding.
talking through the mic on his computer.
Yeah. That is absolutely what was going on. It's such a common problem when the mics are built into the iMac or the MacBook or your laptop, whatever it is, and your software defaults to the wrong mic. And this happens all the time if you launch the recording software and they go, oh yeah, I forgot to plug in my USB cable, right? 95% of the time, it is not going to work unless you restart your software, let it redetect the new microphone that you just plugged in or audio interface, and then have it come up. So that's what happened to him. And I will tell you, this sounds like a real head slapper, a real obvious thing. I have major clients who have told me that this has run into them. This problem has run into them. They've run into this exact same problem. And, never overlook the obvious, and always check to see which source you're recording in your software. Always go into the properties and take a look and see what the source is.
Yep. And on that note, I think we're pretty much out of time. You got to get your kids to bed, especially yours, George.
Apparently.
But
I'm getting the hook right now.
Yeah, really. It is great to be back. I miss doing this, but we did have a good time over the holidays, and we missed all you guys, but we like talking to you. Remember, you can reach us at EWABSshop@gmail.com, and you know how to find us. We're all here. Anyway, next week, we got another great guest coming up. I think we have Gabby Nistico is joining us from Voice Hunters, is she not?
Yes, she is. We'll have Gabby in.
And then the following week, are you ready for this? Scott Brick will be joining us in studio to talk about audiobooks and his career and his studio, hopefully, too.
I know. Scott, I'm really glad Scott's going to come on. He is a titan of the voiceover book recording world.
Yeah.
And
that'll
somebody had
good.
to come on camera. She would not let me.
You turned yourself off there, George.
Oh, the mic was turned off. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Say hi again.
Okay, this.
Oh, that one?
Hello. Hey.
All right.
I was waiting to hear somebody say hi back, I guess.
Hi, Al.
Say Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right. She's getting cuter every day.
Yeah.
Anyway, folks.
Thanks, everybody.
That's all from here on the East Coast. I'm Dan Leonard.
Go ahead, Dan.
I'm Dan Leonard on the East Coast still.
And I'm George and Ella on the West Coast.
And we're together. We're East West Audio Body Shop. Have a great week. We'll see you next Sunday night.
Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye-bye.